Good morning, everyone. Thanks for that nice introduction. And Lee, thanks for taking one for the team with slides. It's so great to see everyone in person. So Foxtrot, I'm sure many of you are sitting out there going, what is Foxtrot? Well, rewind a few years in my career. I spent 10 years at Taco Bell, and everyone that I said Taco Bell to, their face would generally light up. Sometimes you'd get the disgruntled Taco Bell users, but they knew what Taco Bell was because with 6,000 locations, how could you not? And then I went to Dry Bar, and I led Dry Bar for a brief period of time through COVID, which we could talk for hours about what that was like. But 50% of the audience, their face would usually light up, and usually the 50% were the women, and they'd say, oh my God, I love Dry Bar. And the men would be like, huh? And then I did a few other things and eventually met the founder of Foxtrot. And if any of you have met Mike or seen Mike speak or read the story of Foxtrot, I instantly fell in love. And of course, being in our stores, it made me love the brand even more. So I'm gonna give you a sneak peek on what the heck is Foxtrot and what we're doing to drive growth. I know it's many of the things that many of you are doing as well. And then if we have a few minutes, we can take some questions. So Foxtrot, we like to think of ourselves as a better convenience delivered every day. I'll explain what that means in a minute, if I don't trip and go flat here. But before I do that, let me show you a quick video. It helps depict what we're gonna talk about.
At Foxtrot, we do things differently. We find the best of the best, from makers around the corner to all across the country, so you can enjoy wherever you are. Yeah, some people say that taste testing hundreds of different products to find the right one is obsessive.
Who says that?
But we just love food. So whether you're stopping in, picking up, or getting it delivered, we've got you covered. Because in a world filled with more options than you actually need, we give you what you actually want.
All right, so we were born online in 2014, and back then we pretty much only delivered, and then we grew up in stores. So from a delivery concept to a four-wall concept. And today, we're an omni-channel, first of its kind, omni-channel corner store powered by on-demand delivery. What does that mean? If you walk in our four walls today, I would say, and again, depending on format, 30 to 40% of our stores are a market. So kind of that think convenience store. And then another, again, depends on our market. Sometimes it's 20%, 30% is a cafe. So you can get a glass of, in the morning you can get a cup of coffee, you can get an awesome breakfast taco, I think you saw that imagery. And in the evening you can get a glass of wine. And then the remainder is this grab and go. So we have deliciously prepared culinary experience, grab and go, food that is prepared offsite at a commissary and brought in fresh daily. So lots going on within those four walls, and then we also deliver out of those four walls. So it's a store, it's an app, it's a store and an app is what we like to say. As mentioned, we're in Chicago, we're in DC, we're in Dallas, we're about to open Austin in a few weeks, and then we're looking for sites in other cities around the country. As I came in as an operator, really came in to focus on how do we get our operations to work as efficiently and effectively as we know they can. So we have taken a little bit of a pause as we're doing development. I'm sure many of you have done this in the retail world where the team had really big dreams of let's go here, 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 here. And then you say, let's just pause and make sure our supply chain actually works, or let's pause and make sure we can build these as we want. And so we're doing a little bit of that as well right now. So some imagery, like I said, it's a mix of grocery, it's a mix of wine, beer, spirits. In the evening, it's really fun to sit in there in the middle of Chicago and you see just this young customer walking in, grabbing a bottle of wine, a pint of ice cream, typically, sometimes a lot grab dinner, sometimes they're in later than that, but just a mix of things. Fun, light environment. Like we said in the video, really food people. So We really pride ourselves on a broad array. We have best-in-class brands. We've got the brands you'd expect, some that you don't. We also have really leaned into our own private label brands and are having a lot of fun developing. We're known for a lot of what I would say indulgent treats as well. Our stores really do span the day parts. So like I said, in the morning, you can get a cup of coffee. Through the day, you could get your lunch. We're that third space. A lot of people will meet up at Foxtrots. I've gotten notes from people that have said, I've had my first date at a Foxtrot. And then we transition in the evening into market and wine. So as we all like to say in retail, we sweat the asset really all day long. Talked about this in terms of our balance, in terms of the cafe, prepared foods, adult beverage, and market. Really is a mix, and it's shifting. This is averages. It's fun to see in each store how it changes a little bit based on the demographic. The other piece of the model that really works effectively for us is this omnichannel, what we call the flywheel. So, of course, the first thing is to open this profitable store, welcome thousands of customers every day, every week, and then to get them into that flywheel, which is the omni-channel. So paying in our app, so we've spent a good amount of our resources as a newer company in building our own technology and our own app and our own ecosystem. So rather than be one of those companies that's gonna go out and do a lot of couponing that says, I'm sure your inboxes are all full with the delivery companies that say, here's $10 of free this, here's $20 of free that. We're not doing any of that in our marketing strategy. Our marketing strategy is get the consumer into our store, they have a great experience, they download the app, they're then part of our ecosystem, and it's much more friendly and efficient to market to them. So that really is our flywheel as we're building this omnichannel business. And of course, as you guys know, once you do have a customer in the omnichannel world, they just are a stickier, more profitable customer over time, which leads into our membership. So our membership program, again, if you live in Chicago, oftentimes I'll run into people and they'll say, oh my God, your membership program's so wonderful. The wonder of it is free coffee and free delivery that members really love. We're in the midst actually of relaunching our membership and really thinking through how to transition from that as we grow and we scale. But as you can see here, just a really elegant thinking to membership. So it's less about the gimmicky type of membership and more just being in the know. So we're transitioning our membership program also to being in the know for exclusive products. So being the first one to be able to get some of the hard to get wines or treats or co-partnerships that we're doing. So more to come on that in the upcoming weeks and months ahead. And then, like I mentioned, differentiated assortment. So unlike a traditional convenience or grocery where it's all just the big CPG brands, we really like to champion the little guy. We love the big guy. So on my shelves, you'll have a box of Lucky Charms, but you also might have a box of a cereal called Three Wishes, which is created by a more entrepreneurial packaged goods company. And so we really go around when we find who are those up-and-comers, and then we mix that in together with our private label as well. Like I said, Chicago, a few in the DC area with about, I think we have 4 under construction right now and a couple more in our pipeline, and then just getting into Texas. Actually, later today, I'm gonna go look at some sites in Miami. We have started to look at sites out on the West Coast in California. So really excited about nationally expanding and are supported by some great investors that are behind us in that expansion. To wrap up our model for our stores, so far our model's been more of a foot traffic model. So, or trying to locate in a high foot traffic location, because in Chicago, most of our stores have been in those areas where people are predominantly on foot. However, in a market like Chicago, people do drive a bit as well. So it is a bit of a hybrid there. And then as we've gotten into Dallas, we've learned how to take it even further, because many of you that have lived in Dallas or have been there in the summer aren't really walking in 100-degree heat. So we've learned how to shift our model into one where people will drive to us as well. But the beauty is, and I know we all say the same thing, we're all looking for that same site, which is that A corner in the most sought-after neighborhood. And that really is the truth with us. We also really pride ourselves on just the beauty and the elegance of the stores. So our founder, Mike, really takes a hand in the design element. And up until the last, I would say, couple of months, each one of our stores was very bespoke, very much a snowflake. And I was talking over breakfast with a few of you, and we were all lamenting about how it's amazing and beautiful to have these custom bespoke stores. But when our merchandisers try and do a planogram for all these unique stores, their heads start to spin off and they go nuts. And so one of the things that I'm excited to bring to Foxtrot is this notion of how do we bring more of a templated approach, but how do we do it in a way where we keep this beautiful soul of the store? And so I'm working with our design team right now. I know many of you have been through this exercise. I think it's a really fun exercise, and I'm excited to take the brand on the journey to do it. Like I said, every detail thoughtfully designed for each location. Our Austin stores are just looking amazing. They really do fit the Austin market. So here will be the challenge as we get more into this templated world. How do we do this in a way where we really are still that custom look and feel for the market? This is just a bit of a planogram, and we can talk about this if there's any questions of kind of how we set up our stores. We're still very much in this test and learn, where is it better to have the market, should you walk through the cafe to get to the market, or vice versa? We've done both of these executions and are just starting to really understand which is working better for us. So like I said in closing, some just glamour shots of the stores. And with that, I will open it up to questions, or yes? Okay.
Thank you so much, Liz.
Yes,
and,
of course.
I'm going to hop up on stage. Yeah, great. Thank you. We're actually we're gonna bring up some chairs here, but it's gonna take a few extra minutes just to have a chat. It's such a wonderful concept, such a cool concept, and also really popular as it's proven, and they're really beautiful stores.
Thank you.
Look, one of the questions and one of the things that we've been discussing here at RetailSpaces is, how do we get seamless omni-channel experiences? How do we integrate digital and into the physical space? I mean, this is so woven into what you guys do. It's kind of in the source code of what you are. So, I mean, what can retailers, there's so many question marks around it. What do you think they might be able to take from what you guys do to enhance their operations?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is, and again, I'm probably not a surprise, but awareness is the name of the game. And so we had, of course, our e-commerce from the very beginning, but when initially we designed the stores, we didn't really talk about delivery in the store, and that's such a great place to talk about it. So one of the things we went back and did, we actually remodeled a few stores to put what we call a digital hub. So it was a much more deliberate expression of this really nice custom piece that was built in. It said really elegantly, digital hub. We put some refrigeration there because obviously if you order your ice cream online, you want your ice cream still to be cold. You don't want it sitting on a shelf. So operationally, we've had to think through that. But I can just tell you, a store that didn't have that really well articulated versus a store that did, sales went up automatically looking at the buy online, pick up in store, once it was just really literal and spelled out. Mm-hmm. Another thing that just in the last few months in some of our stores, we've gone back and refreshed the window clings. This seems so simple. On the outside of the windows to talk about our delivery in a very classy way. Like, we don't want the window clings to be, look like a NASCAR race. It's really, how do we do it in a classy way? But just saying delivery on the windows, again, you see the sales go immediately. So.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you communicate with the consumer in a way that is deliberate but yet subtle?
Right. And I guess also, I think that comes to authenticity too, right? I mean, there's this, you can't just sort of whack up like, well, this is where our BOPUS is, and it's this, terrible sign in the corner. But I mean, you've got to weave it into what you're trying to tell the customer and your relationship with them, right? I mean, there's this conversation about, and we talked about it yesterday, how do we create fandom, or like, how do we become craveable? And I think we have this tendency to look at what works with other brands and like, oh, that's cool, and it seems to sort of have some stick, but then we copy things and it just looks the same. So I mean, like, how do brands sort of figure out what they are and then trust in that enough to, invest in it?
Yeah, it's one of the things I loved about Foxtrot. We really do have this amazing soul and DNA, and credit to Mike, our founder. He invested in a far bigger design team than I probably ever, as a CFO, than I probably ever would have. But this design team is so creative and has, done this work, and it truly is authentic. We like to say it's Instagram worthy. So when someone comes in our store, they want to stand in front of the mural and take a picture of themselves doing that. And so I think it's just, and I'm preaching to the choir because I know there's some designers here, but really these brands investing in the creativity and the design, which is at the core of the DNA. I think once you walk past that or don't regard it highly, I think the brand becomes me too very quickly. And for some brands, that's okay, because maybe they're fighting only on price and it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. But I think in today's world, it matters more than not. Yeah,
I mean, you guys have definitely got something special going on. I mean, I think that feeds into what comes from, you've got your own brands as well. And I mean, you've got people going on first dates to Foxtrot. I mean, that's pretty, do you have a secret as to how you're getting that to happen?
It's, the ambiance of hanging out in a Foxtrot, it just feels better. Like sometimes it almost feels too good because you see people that will bring their computer in there and they'll work there all day long. You're
Guilty.
Like, it's a little too comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we take a lot of care. What is the lighting like? What is the music like? What are the chairs like? What is the environment? People don't want to go to, meet someone at a really cold, sterile, uninspirational place, right? Mm-hmm. Some people do, but they're probably boring. But no, I mean,
not judging you if you are that person, No, I mean, and I think, that's nice. I mean, I even read you guys have like the Wi-Fi password up on the board, and that's easily accessible. So you're not just trying to kick people out, and it's inviting, even if you get those lurkers.
Yeah.
Now, look, you mentioned it is difficult. You're going from these wonderful bespoke locations, and it's custom fitted. But I mean, you guys are you're also experimenting and prototyping as well. Can you tell us what kind of things you're working with and experimenting with right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of the work we're doing is the low-hanging fruit that, some of the more mature businesses, certainly coming from my world, Taco Bell, we had done a long time ago, just aggregating, how we're purchasing. We'd never really done that before, so I think there's big opportunity there. And then, we've tried a lot of different designs at this point, so it's now saying we don't need to change it every single time. Which designs do we really love, and how do we template those so that we can recreate them? And then also this learning, which I touched on a minute, we're learning where are the best places. Like, it's funny, we had a store where the wine and the wine section and the market were really off to the side, almost out of sight, out of mind for the customer. And so they would walk in, they'd enjoy the cafe, but they really wouldn't know that we had this market. And so we did a remodel, which again, coming from my background, when the team told me that they had remodeled the store after like 3 years, I'm used to the big box retailer where it's like 10, 15, 20 years. I'm like, whoa, 3 years you remodeled the store? And they're like, yeah, but these are the results. And what they did is they flipped it so that the market was just much more present, and the impact, obviously, it was worth the remodel. So, it's things like that. In today's practical world too, the sad reality is there are some sections you have to have a little bit more front and center too, so things don't walk out the door and all that. So, I think we're learning there. And then on planograms, we're also learning, how to get more standard as well.
Yeah, and you showed those planograms before. To me, we also produce restaurant spaces, and that outline, that layout kind of looks like some of the things that restaurants are doing now to, enhance their digital and enhance pickup and that kind of thing. a lot of experimentation happening in the restaurant field, and we talked about this yesterday about what retailers could learn from that sector. And you know, you've got a background in restaurants, Taco Bell, President International. So I guess what do you see happening in that field that you think retailers could maybe pull from?
Yeah, again, more than ever, the template is important when you're doing your back of house. There's absolutely no advantage to having a bunch of snowflakes on your back of house in a operating environment, a restaurant operating environment, because when you train, it's better to do one training system that says this is how you make the product. And if you have your back of house laid out in 18 different ways, it's impossible to train a workforce that has such high turnover to train. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. I would say the other thing is just thinking through the team member experience. I think too many concepts build the back of house, and they're so concerned on what the consumer view should be, as they should be, but then they, I don't know, they get exhausted by the time they build the back of house, or they run out of space and they're like, oh, the operator will be fine. So like as an example, maybe they don't build a little nook for the manager. Well, the problem is if you don't build a nook for the manager, guess what? The manager is going to make their office like on your bar counter, or they're going to make it in the front, in your dining room, or they're going to find a place to have an office, and chances are you're probably not going to like their solution. The team members always find a way. And so just how do you think through it from that operation standpoint?
Yeah, it definitely gets overlooked. Manager's nook.
And I always say, and again, I didn't think this up, the customer experience will never exceed the team member experience. So if you don't design your store to have a really good team member experience, you're going to be really challenged to have a great customer experience.
100%. Look, we've just got a few more minutes. Any questions from the audience here that you'd like to throw up at Liz? No?
Everyone's still waking up.
Yeah, they've still got Guns N' Roses playing in the back of their head. But look, I mean, Liz, thank you so much for joining us. And I mean, look, the grand vision. What's the idea? You want to have a Foxtrot?
Everywhere. I just think this brand resonates. We're like early innings right now in terms of the growth, and I can't wait to get it, so that everyone around here, when I bump into you, you go, I love my local Foxtrot. That really is the vision.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Liz Williams, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Wonderful.